Wonderful. So we've had a glimpse into what the technology landscape looks like. Now we want to know, what are the jobs actually there? So based on your experience as a software engineer in product leadership, what tech roles do you think are most in demand today? And I'll start with Shradha.
Firstly, Alana, thank you. I'm really honored to be on this panel and share it with Taiwo. Um, I would actually answer this question slightly differently. The most in demand people right now are not just those in specific titles or, doing specific roles, but they are the ones who operate like at the intersection of technology, business, and execution, especially because AI has shortened the execution so much.
Mm,
So a lot of this relies at that intersection. Of course, strong software engineers are still in demand, strong product managers are still in demand. However, when you bring in those cross-sectional areas where you are leveraging AI, where you're bringing in your business expertise, your data understanding. I saw in the chat previously that a lot of people are in project management and business analysis. So I would urge them to see beyond their roles of business analysis that they would have done like 2 years ago, and how can you leverage either in the area surrounding yourself. For example, if you work with software engineers, can you do some part of what they do or understand or challenge that? Or if you work with business teams, do you understand the business landscape where you can actually connect with them and challenge and present your perspective? So what's really changing is that companies are no longer just hiring for task
yeah.
execution. We want people who can think in systems, people who can understand customer problems no matter what your role is. They work cross functionally and use technology very intelligently and drive outcomes. So, yes, the technical depth matters still, but increasingly, the most valuable roles are the ones that connect dots and not just tickets if you are a software engineer, for example.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I think it's really important, that misconception about what tech jobs are. So I may actually throw another question to Taiwo regarding the misconception that tech jobs mean you have to learn coding. We know you're quite technical, but what do you think at the moment? What is the misconception of what a tech career currently looks like?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for having me on this webinar, and it's good to also be part of, speaking alongside Shradha and the rest. So, to answer your question, the misconception. So, usually, I'd say people think that you have to be technical or you need to be very good at maths
Mm,
to be able to work in tech, but that's not necessarily true. You just need to have a mindset of, in terms of solving problems, you need to be able to think logically. So you don't necessarily need to know Pythagoras, the y, the x, and all of them. Yeah, and also leadership. If you have that capacity in handling people, managing people, you do well in tech, because tech is not just coding; it's more about thinking, planning,
yeah.
and problem solving.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think there's a theme coming along, that it's more about understanding sort of systems rather than necessarily just the technical knowledge. So thank you for that, Taiwo. And in your both your careers, which have been quite successful, what was one pivotal skill or experience that you can identify that shaped your path within technology? Shraddha?
I think this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Like, what is that pivotal skill? And I always struggled with identifying what my strengths and weaknesses were.
Mm,
But having worked in various areas, and tying this back again to one of the questions that people ask, like, I can't focus on one thing. I'm like, so one skill that I've gained is knowing myself, what I want and how I do things. Is again, I'm a dot connector. Like Wendy mentioned, she also loves pattern recognition. I am a dot connector of ideas. So I used to work in a lot of delivery facing teams, but I was always curious about how the strategy comes together, how are the pricing determined, how can that be reflected into our systems. And so once I started somewhere, I figured out, hey, this is not something that I love. I love strategy. I love something that can connect dots. So the skill that I would like to say is, one, first know what you love, and then from there the pivotal skill for me came out to be curiosity. And I always lean into my curiosity, that hey, where is my curiosity taking me right now, and I will go that way. So I know probably a lot of the listeners are thinking of, can I get like a very tactical skill or something? I don't have that answer for you, because 6 months from now that might be gone away. But something that is inherently human, I would pick that as a pivotal skill in these times. And for me, that is curiosity and connecting dots. So yeah, thank you for asking that question, because I always love that one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
I,
Taiwo?
I think Shradha has just said exactly the same thing. You need to be curious, because that's what will give you the desire and the drive to want to know more, to
Mhm.
learn, to reach out to people, and not want to remain the same. So, not playing it safe, willingness to take risks, because sometimes you're not sure, but just take the step regardless. And then also communication. If you're a good communicator, you'll be able to reach out to people who are kind of ahead of you, and then they will be able to help. And
Mhm.
yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you both. And I guess another question regarding, again, artificial intelligence. I know it seems like a buzzword, but it is something that is very relevant in our day and age, and there's a lot of sort of fear around it, or wondering what our job market will look like with artificial intelligence. And I know that Wendy also touched on that. But how is AI changing the job market within technology? And are you seeing roles evolve, new roles emerge, or are certain skills, maybe the trend of certain skills becoming more relevant or more important with the rise of AI?
Okay. I think with the advent of AI, um, it's true that things are changing and companies are no longer just looking for maybe a software developer or a data analyst or whatever. They're looking for someone that can ask questions, because
Mhm.
the essence of AI, or you'd be good at using AI if you can ask the right questions. So being able to ask the right questions, think logically, and also in terms of the job market now, it's consistently having to do with AI. It's not just maybe a software developer, but a very good software developer or an AI assisted software developer. So data, because again, AI, everything about AI is built on data.
Mhm.
So if you are good at analyzing data, if you're good at processing data, or again asking the questions, then you should be fine. The job market, from my experience, it's still the same. A lot of things hasn't changed. It's just that with the same job, you just need to be able to speed up things that you do normally by using AI.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Shraddha?
Yep, I think I completely agree with everything that I was mentioning, right? AI is definitely changing the job market in ways like it's speeding things up. However, there are certain things that are still foundational, that are still static. They still ground us down. But almost every tech role now benefits from some level of AI fluency, data understanding. So I would really ask people to, and I follow that, advice as well from a mentor, that in ever changing AI job market, what are the skills that are human? Can I connect those to me? Like, can I have something that AI doesn't provide? And I'm seeing the roles evolve in ways where those skills can be then leveraged. No matter like Claude code is where it is now, and in 6 months, those skills are what will take you further. So I would very, very much focus on those skills and have an experimentation mindset. Do you know how you learn best, in these areas? Because you are going to be learning pretty fast compared to what you used to before. Are you able to fail and learn from it? Those are the skills would help when these roles are evolving and emerging, for you to keep static and constant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I'll just take a couple of questions as well that have come through the chats. Someone has asked, how did you start? What's your advice for people who work in a company where managers gatekeep answers to your curiosity? So you are curious, but you just don't get those answers. How do you start?
Whenever it comes to a manager, or anybody who is your skip, I always have taken a stance that you are the driver of your career. I make myself own my career as if I'm a freelance. I'm not an employee, and that means, what would I do if this was my own company? The career is my own company. If the manager's not giving it, I would build trust outside. I would figure out ways to get the information that you need. I wouldn't just rely on one person, because even if you change managers, there will be something else. So you have to be the CEO or the driver of your own career. And if your curiosity is leading you somewhere, try to get it. If it's a path A, this is manager is not available, find out a path B or path C. There is no limitation on any paths you can take these days. So do not be brought down by one path, which is a manager, and try to go outside that.
That's a very important point. Is that a lot of it also comes down to sort of self-learning and taking that initiative and going at it alone, unfortunately, as well. And we do have another question in the comments on the chat. Someone has says, when I understand what my pivotal skill is, how do I practically leverage that leverage that in the professional tech role, as it may be foreign to me? So the role may be foreign, but they know their skill. How do they now leverage that? Taiwo, did you want to?
I'm just trying to find the question. Could you just repeat that again?
Yes, it says, when I understand what my pivotal skill is, how do I practically leverage that in the professional tech role, as the role may be foreign to me? So I'm guessing this is maybe a new role that is foreign to them, but they have a good understanding of their skills.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand the question. You have the skills, but it's a new role, and what's the issue there? Is it that you don't? Yeah.
Skills, yeah.
How do you what?
Leverage those skills, use those skills within a new role.
Okay. I mean, you can always find ways to use your skills. I guess that would depend on the role as well, or maybe just having a chat with your manager, see how you can help. I'll give an example. When I was still at university and I went on placement, so I had, let's say specifically, I was good with Python, or I was learning Python more, but the environment I was in, I'm having to learn something new. So in as much as I'm learning, I'm also trying to use my skills where it benefits the company. I would, obviously, I'm not just going against the rules or the processes. I will speak to the person in charge of me, my manager, and say, oh, I can do this. I have this skill set. How can I also use this in this area? I think the manager would know best and will be able to direct you.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think in cases where maybe you don't have the most supportive manager, is also trying to identify stakeholders or people in your company that may not be your direct line of that you report to, but do possess those skills and that knowledge, and are happy to sort of mentor you and support you with that. So yeah, completely agreed.
I'd also like to add that in as much as we work, we're trying to push our career. There's one thing that Shradha Shradha said, that I did like, don't let I'm just paraphrasing now, don't let you're the CEO of your life. So in as much as outside of the workplace, I'm sure there are also places outside of the workplace where you can utilize your skills. And so if you have that mindset, even you won't be afraid of, oh, is there going to be a layoff? Am I going to be out of the job? Because you're utilizing your skills and you're adding value. Wherever there is value, you would always be wanted and needed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Shradha, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I think the pivotal skills I can speak to a lot, and I screenshotted Wendy's, presentation slide. So speaking from there, pivoting or starting out isn't about abandoning your existing skills and experience; it's about leveraging them in new contexts. And oftentimes we struggle. How can we show it in new context, right? So I actually have a friend who was in real estate. She used to flip houses. She had a contractor team, and what she would do is she would manage them coming into each houses and how they would do it. So when she was trying to pivot into tech, she was like, how do I pivot into tech? And I'm like, you do project management. Sometimes you can't tie what you do daily to something that is like ties to one word, which is project management. And once she could figure that out, that hey, I'm doing project management, I just have to do it in a different context when it comes to software. So I would really figure out what your pivotal skill means in the area that you're trying to pivot into, whether it's stakeholder management or whether what is it. And once you do that, you are able to then make sure that you get that in your new job. So I would actually take it 10,000 feet high, and that helps.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you both. We have a really good question as well in the comments or the chat. It says, when your passions don't align with the job market, would it be better to just start where your skills are more suited? For example, if you want to enter healthcare technology, but the jobs are less easy to come by, is it better to consider another area in tech where you have some skills? So maybe, you may really align to a certain area. It's fantastic, but the jobs maybe you're just not there or not readily available. But you do have other transferable skills that are in more readily available jobs. What do you do in that scenario?
Yeah, I can take this one. I'm always somebody who has not had like a single passion. Like I said, I'm curiosity driven and passion driven. So, however, for this person, I would definitely say, um, even if you transfer industries, right, have something that is of passion in there. Maybe health tech is your passion, but you're not able to do project management in health tech, but do project management somewhere else. So that way, at least there is one thing that you're curious or passionate about. And then when there is a door open in health tech or healthcare, you can take those skills. So instead of just having this one vision where every variable in your equation needs for you to get an answer, go with that mindset. I would try to keep it flexible, see what are the problems that I want to solve in the area that I am finding jobs. Maybe it's telecommunication. What is the area that I can contribute and I am passionate about? Because if nothing fits in your passion, neither the industry nor the role nor the people that you're working with, it can become hard. So have at least one area where you feel like, okay, I'm passionate or I'm curious and I feel like I belong. I would at least have one area there. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Really good
I
advice.
would I would also like to add that if, for example, you aren't finding the right job market, what you could do is you could find something that's closer to what you're looking for, just to get foot in there. So, and then after a while, you can also transition because it's easier to take a step than to take two steps. So once you're at least around, I know, I'll give an example. A few years ago, someone reached out to me. She wanted to. She was pivoting into tech, and she I would say she needed a mentor. She reached out to me, and then after a few conversations, she explained what she was doing and what she wanted to go into. What I would always advise is, even if you can't find this one, find something that's very close to what you're looking for. So once you take your foot in there, once you step foot in there, it becomes easier because there is a connection between the middle ground. It's much easier to then switch into what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if I can add something, Alana, like passion is something, when you say you're passionate about something, you are giving an idea which is not validated.
Mhm.
So I feel like if you go beyond just that and, start working somewhere else, at least you're moving somewhere instead of just getting stuck in, okay, this is not what I'm passionate about, but you don't know what else is there. So I would validate what other things that you will be passionate about by taking the step in direction of moving somewhere. And every time you move somewhere, like I also had a health tech. I wanted to be passionate about health tech, but once I started working in telecommunication, I saw something that I really love, which is the pricing strategy. I wouldn't have if I would have just kept pursuing health tech. So I would definitely see what opportunity comes by and learn from that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'll just take the last question in the chat, and then we'll ask for your final words. Someone has said, domain knowledge is so important to hiring managers. And even though I'm guessing they mean 2 decades of experience and required skills, it still seems hard to pass through to the talent team. And I know if you're on LinkedIn, this discourse isn't something that's new. People with a lot of experience in certain domains are still struggling within this current landscape to get through the talent teams. What advice would you offer in these cases where they have the skills and the experience but they're still struggling?
Um,
Go
okay.
ahead, actually. You
I'd
are better.
say I'd say with the experience, obviously things are changing a lot. What I always advise, which might also answer a lot of other questions, is I always put myself forward for interviews, even though I may not necessarily be looking to change jobs.
Mm-hmm.
What that helps me to do is when I go for interviews, getting an understanding or knowledge of what the current requirement is.
Yes.
So, for example, they would ask questions about this. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm still behind. I need to try and work on that area. And what I normally recommend to people is go on LinkedIn in the job section, look for the type of jobs you want to go into, or you'd usually see in the job description. I always say maybe find 3 to 5. In the job description, there would be skills that are necessary. They will list them. So see the ones that you are lacking, because normally the reason why you wouldn't go past the talent team is because you're not meeting a specific criteria. So when you can identify a skill that keeps recurring among those job roles, then it will give you a pointer to what you need to actually improve on.
Absolutely, absolutely. I like that idea of like going on, and even if you're not looking for a job, just to keep yourself current, even just keeping your CV current, because things are moving so quickly. There are new ways of doing things. There are new algorithms with LinkedIn. So just keeping yourself current is very important. Thank you. Shada, any words on that one?
Yeah, I think landscape and job search these days is very different. So I'm on the hiring panel. I get like 100 job applications for one role. So I'm trying to give a alternate perspective than what I was giving on the hiring side. It's so difficult to get narrowed down to one candidate. So
Mhm.
what I have done, and I'm sorry, I'm guilty of that because it's my human limitation that I could only look at like 10 resumes. So if you were in that 11 to 100 one, I might not even have seen. So I don't know if you know for sure it is the domain knowledge that is what is working against you. But I know for a fact that these days, if you have a human connection, that's your best way to get to these roles, because the things are going to continuously change. And how do you come in front of that panel or the interviewer or the recruiter is by the human connection. Be curious, reach out to them on LinkedIn and ask like, what are they looking for, what is the domain knowledge, and offer that, hey, I am in this, what do you think? So a lot of times that human connection helps you put it in perspective. So even if you're changing domains, you can actually make them trust that you are able to even work in a new domain because of X, Y, and Z. So if you don't get that opportunity, your resume is never going to translate that for you. So I would urge you to see if there is a human connection and find a route that way in.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you both for your time. From the comments and the chat, you can see that this has been a very helpful session. As mentioned earlier, we'll be sharing the details of all our speakers today, so do feel free to reach out to them if you have any further questions that were unable to be answered today.